And I see that you love film. What did you think of Tenet?
Listen, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't.
No
I
way!
know, I know, I know, I know. Hi, I'm Brad. Where are you calling from?
South Africa, Vereniging.
From Lexington, Kentucky.
I'm calling from the Netherlands.
And wherever you are, welcome to Blond Radio. Hi, I'm Brad. I live on the west coast of Canada. I own far too many books that I haven't read yet. And no, I still haven't seen Tenet by Christopher Nolan. And welcome to Blond Radio, where every week I book calls with strangers from around the world. Today we'll talk to Mia, an IT student from South Africa who's learning to live with an autoimmune disease. Bryce, who's been using his passion for coffee and service to change the world around him. And Ari, who's finding his own voice in art. But first, this week at Blond Radio on Instagram, I gave you a prompt. How do you manage your fears? Here's what you had to say.
Hi, I'm Juliet. I'm calling from France. And how do I manage my fears? It's really hard, not gonna lie. But I try to always remember that there is always a solution behind all of the issues I see. And I may not see it right now, but I know I will see the solution in the future. Maybe it's not a close future, but I'll still see it. So I try to live by that.
Hey Brad, this is Mira calling from Fredericksburg, Virginia, and the way I manage my fears is by looking what will come after I take on the fear. Not so much what's happening in the moment, but thinking about what's going to happen in the future and then just taking a deep breath, counting to 3 and going through with it.
Hello, I'm Luca and I'm calling from Hamburg, Germany, and I manage my fears by trying to confront them in order to overcome them. Sometimes small things in life are pretty tough for me, but I won't let my fears stop me, and I'm always trying to stay positive in order to conquer them.
Hey, I'm Valentin, calling from Germany or recording this message from Germany. I manage my fears by just going through it, knowing that nothing real is really going to happen to me. I just am in this mindset that I know that my fears are not really validated and that I can just relax and know that these fears I have are not real.
Hi Brad, this is Natasha from Malta, and the way that I tackle my fears is by saying I would rather try something and have it not work out than not trying anything at all and always wondering what could have happened.
Hello, my name's Maple and I'm calling from Central Oregon. I manage my fears by doing things to overcome them. If I'm scared of heights, I will drive to a hill and look over the view. Or if I'm scared of the dark, I'll take a drive and just sit in the dark in the middle of nowhere. You never know when an opportunity will pop up to where you won't need to be afraid.
Thanks to everyone for submitting their responses, and we'll hear more answers throughout today's show. Hello.
Hello.
Awesome. Mia. It's Mia, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm Brad. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
And where are you calling from?
South Africa, Vereniging.
Wow. That's very cool. I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Do you know Transvaal? It's like the smallest province in South Africa.
Oh, okay. That would probably explain it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like south from Johannesburg.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I guess just off the bat, give me the elevator pitch on you, Mia, who you are, what you do, and what got you to where you are today.
I am a 21-year-old IT student that has been diagnosed with lupus a while ago. What got me here? Immense support from my family, I'd have to say. Everything I've been through, the way I got today is because of my family and support from friends. That's basically it.
Totally. And, for listeners, but as well as me, because I'm very uneducated, talk me through this diagnosis.
Okay, so lupus, I don't know if you know what lupus is.
I don't know.
Lupus is an autoimmune disease, and an autoimmune disease is where your immune system attacks healthy cells in your body or organs. It doesn't recognize it as your own organs, but rather as a virus. It's an overactive immune system. I was diagnosed in 2018, and then I was put on some heavy medication, a low dosage of chemotherapy and malaria pills, and they had some very serious side effects, so I had to drop them. And since I dropped those medications, I've been struggling to keep up and stay healthy most of the time. But lupus can be a very controllable disease unless you get a flare like I did and you get sick and you're struggling to find the right medications. It's in and out of hospital. I saw more than 5 doctors in the last 2 months.
Wow.
And it's a lot of medical bills, and it gets overwhelming. It's manageable at times, but it gets overwhelming.
I'd imagine. And I'm guessing that's maybe what you were alluding to in your message as far as like hitting rock bottom.
Yeah. When I typed the message, it has a really big toll on my mental health. As far as like the people that I speak to that also has lupus and struggles with the same type of diseases and other autoimmune diseases, is they feel the same. When you get to the point where you're flaring and it's taking over your life, it gets very mentally straining. Because I study in Port Elizabeth, which is by the coast. My parents had to move me back home because I couldn't live alone in the state that I am. So I had to leave all my friends behind there. I had to give up my apartment, and I came back here. I'm struggling because of all the meds. I struggle to study sometimes. It's very difficult to concentrate. So studying became a lot harder. I've been struggling to keep up with everyone, and I can't go out anymore into the public at all because, like, physically I can't do it, and I just don't feel like I can show my face as it is sometimes. All of that just piles on, and it just gets too much, and then you get really depressed, and your body image, this image you have of yourself, it just deteriorates, and the struggle is more mental than physical. When I wrote the message, I was just so finished with everything, but I'm doing better now. But like the reason I want people to know about autoimmune diseases, because I can't tell you the amount of times that someone's asked me, what do you have? And I was like, lupus. And they're like, oh, Selena Gomez has that. And that's all the info that they go on.
Ooh, yeah.
And I want people to know what it's more like, because that's basically it.
What do you think maybe like some of the biggest misconceptions are about it?
One of the biggest would be that it's like a minor inconvenience.
Right.
Eczema, for example. The eczema that comes with the lupus, for me, people see it as, oh, it's just like a skin problem. You just have a problematic skin. But it's so much more than that. It gets so bad sometimes that I can't go outside. I can't go into the sun at all. I can't go into houses with pets, and there's so many things that is involved in it. And then people just see it as such a minor thing and push it over, especially with like lupus. There's so many symptoms, but all they see is like, oh, you just have a very strong immune system. You can't get sick. That's basically what most people think.
Right.
Which is wrong.
Yeah, that's a very probably tricky one mentally for a lot of people to wrestle with. But on the other side, you're speaking to your studies and your program IT, and like despite everything you've been going through, it sounds like you're still in your studies. Where do you find this like motivation and purpose to, despite everything, keep moving forward?
I already had so much taken away from me. There's nothing really that I'm doing other than just staying home. And a lot of people just keep telling me like, that's important, just think about yourself. But I need something to keep me busy and to keep my mind set on something else, because I can't, if I just sit around all day being depressed about my mental state and my physical state, then not doing anything is just gonna make you think about things that you shouldn't be thinking about. And working and studying, it just helps to keep my mind distracted, and it also motivates me to finish my studies, because I still have a long way to go. And if I had to give that up now as well, then I don't think I'd be motivated to get through what I'm going through right now. It's very difficult to go through something now if you don't have something to look forward to in the future. And the only thing I have to look forward to in the future is getting out healthy and then finishing my studies so I can go work.
Totally. Yeah, I feel like, and obviously to a lesser degree, a lot of people are probably feeling that right now in 2020 of just putting things on hold and really just grabbing what you can and really trying to push through it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with people that decide that sometimes things are too much and then they have to concentrate on their mental health. And so did I. Had to give up a lot of things, but this is just one of those things that I could not give up. And I do believe that people need to keep busy because depression is not an easy thing to deal with, especially alone. And motivating yourself is such a difficult thing to do when you have depression, but keeping busy, I think, helps a lot. Just getting up in the morning, making your bed, showering, and then having a set task to do in that day helps keep your mind distracted sometimes. And it might feel difficult to get through them sometimes, and you might fall back. Sometimes you just don't get out of bed, and that's okay. Just like take a day for yourself. And my mother always said, like, just take one day for yourself. If you're sad or feel lonely or something, and you just cry and you do what you want to do for that day, and you just sleep the whole day, stay the whole day in bed. But the next day, you just get up, you make your bed, and you continue on. And I kind of live by that now. Even when I'm not feeling well, you get out of bed, you just take a shower, you make your bed. Even if you climb back into bed, it's fine. Just try and get into that mental state of getting out, doing something, even if it's just showering.
Oh, for sure. I'd 100% agree that the days where, I start my day getting out of bed doing a task rather than the days where I lay in bed for like an hour on my phone. The former are much more productive days.
It's difficult. It sounds so easy to say. It's like, just get out of bed, but it's not that easy. I know, but that's also where the work comes in. If you have set deadlines, it kind of forces you to get out of bed. It's not something that you should do. It's something you have to do.
Exactly.
So.
And, to maybe inconsequential amount, but like this podcast, if I didn't have the weekly deadlines on it, I'd be a wreck. So deadlines are so important.
They are. I'm a heavy procrastinator, so I do my stuff very close to the deadlines. But honestly, agree with you. If it wasn't for deadlines, I wouldn't have done any of my work.
For sure. Better done poorly than not at all, I'd say.
That's also true.
Yeah.
I work well under pressure, so it's fun.
Yeah. The little things we tell ourselves.
Yeah.
Awesome. Mia, I want to thank you for taking time out of your morning and speaking with me. But in closing, I was wondering, what advice would you give to someone who wants to find their maybe larger purpose in life, but are maybe stuck behind these obstacles and struggles of the day-to-day life, especially now?
Well, I think it's important to focus on your day-to-day problems, but you can't get through them if you're not motivated by something. It's very difficult to see outside of that bubble that you're stuck in at the moment. But when the moment you have a purpose or something to work to, it does motivate you to get through your daily struggles. And I do believe that family and friends can support you in so many ways. Even if they irritate you sometimes, it's so important to have someone that you could just talk to and to rely on, and even tell them your goals, even if you don't feel that positive about them. Tell them about, just have someone to be motivated with you and to support you through the difficult days.
Yeah, build that network, or find it if you can. I think there's definitely a place for everyone. The world's big enough.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
And thank you for having me on.
Of course. It was so great to hear your words and your story. Thank you for making time. It's great to chat.
It's a pleasure. It's only a pleasure.
Awesome. We'll be in touch. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Cheers.
Ciao.
Hey Brad, my name is Sophia and I'm from Indiana in the United States. I manage my fears by reminding myself that my story is different than others, and that's okay. I oftentimes have a lot of fear about not being where I'm supposed to be in terms of doing things, but I just remind myself that my narrative is much different. I'm on a much different path than other people, and it kind of helps me out.
Hello.
How's it going?
Going well, yourself?
I'm fantastic.
And where are you calling from?
I'm calling actually on the road from Lexington, Kentucky to Virginia, Stanton, Virginia.
Quite the trek there. What's that about?
I know. I'm on my way to go see family up in Virginia with some of my family for Thanksgiving.
Very
excited.
Sweet. Hell yeah. Well, I'm Brad. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Well, Bryce, first off the bat, I guess sort of like give me the pitch on you, who you are, what you do, and what kind of got you to where you are today.
Well, as you know, I'm Bryce. My friends online call me Bryce Krispies, and I go by the gamer tag Sleep. And I actually helped co-own an esports team online. It was a Smash esports team. And right now I'm trying to get my coffee brand started to roast coffee, and the percentage of the proceeds go towards Compassion Child. So I help sponsor children in poverty-stricken areas, and the kids who don't have enough money to support themselves or families who can't support themselves, I help. So that'd be really cool. I'd love to do something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What initiated that sort of, with this branding and helping the less fortunate? Because I am curious, because in your message, you mentioned your religious background. I was curious as to how much of your desire to help less fortunate stems from that belief versus sort of your personal worldview.
Oh, all of it, for sure. Just to put it into perspective, when I turned 12, I'm actually from the Philippines. So I'm not from America. I was born in the Philippines, and when I turned 12, I had to move here to America because my dad got sick. He couldn't see out of his right eye, and he was a missionary to the Philippines, and he started a church, and he was in the middle of helping the less fortunate, and he went to the poverty-stricken areas, and he said to me, "Oh, Bryce, I can't see on my right eye." And he told my mom, and my mom ended up taking him to the ER and found that he had a brain tumor sitting on top of his optic nerve.
Oh, wow.
So it was very awful. It was a horrible experience, and a whole year of treatment, he ended up passing away due to complications, and that really made me confront my mortality at a very young age.
Yeah.
It made me question if God was really real, and if he was real, then where am I going to go when I die? All these questions stirring around my head, and it really changes you whenever you lose a loved one. It changes how you feel about the world. The colors become brighter and your experiences mean something. So whenever my dad passed away, it was more of a transformation. And I thank God for it, because I wouldn't be the man who I am today without my dad passing away. Because I looked up to my dad a lot, and there were 2 beds actually in the ICU. One of them was a dude who robbed like a gas station or something. He was rushed in, he was shot. And then there's my dad who, a missionary to the Philippines, served for 12 to 20 years in the mission field, like helping the less fortunate. Tell me why my dad died and the guy who got shot at the gas station trying to rob it lived. Stuff like that made me almost hate the idea of God and stuff like that. And then I realized, like, it's not so much about me, it's accepting the fact that there's something bigger and that you don't have all the answers. You're accepting the fact that you are playing a huge part in somebody else's journey. It's a really sobering thought and whole new world to live in.
Totally.
So it just made me really want to help the world out and contribute to it. It made me the man who I am today.
And carrying on kind of in a way your father's work. I grew up in a very religious household, and even though I've stepped away from the church in more recent years, that is something I really do appreciate, is seeing maybe not necessarily the beauty in the tragedy, but like the silver linings all around, as far as like sometimes things are out of our control and are meant to open doors and opportunities to things, we may have not considered otherwise. The bad isn't always the bad, and you can't have the good without the bad, unfortunately.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I did not mean it for it to be that damper of a conversation.
No. I think, as you're mentioning, confronting your mortality, it's something we often shy away from, but it's pretty important. I would not want to put that off until my deathbed.
Yeah. I think everybody should confront their fears in life and confront the things that are holding them back. Mm-hmm. And mine was the death of my dad. And trusting in God put things into perspective. It's like being saved really showed me who I am in the universe and who God is to me. It's like being hit by a truck and living to tell the tale,
For sure. Yeah, finding your place in it all. I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. As you mentioned, I saw like a recent post of yours about stepping away, to sort of tangentially skip to something else here, about stepping away from social media. And more now in 2020 than ever, we're so online. Why do you think that's important, to step back and get some perspective every now and then?
ironically, in Ecclesiastes, which is a really
Yeah.
it's a really cool book in the Bible. I believe that the Bible is one of the best books of poetry to ever exist. And basically in Ecclesiastes, it says that everything is vanity. It basically says that nothing matters. And it's a really damper book, but it has a lot of truth to it because everything is toil under the sun. That's basically what it says. And how are you using this to praise God, and how are you using it to serve him and serve the less fortunate and love other people?
And maybe to someone who doesn't hold a fervent religious belief, maybe that idea of praising God can seem a bit abstract, but I think if you boil it down, like the general principles, at least, in my church growing up, is just like leave the world a better place than you found it, uplift your fellow man. And I think those are concepts anyone can get behind.
Yeah. And loving people, most importantly, because praising God is all about loving people. Whenever I say praising God, I know it's an abstract concept, but it's really just loving other people the same way that God loves us. And it means sacrificing our lives towards the service of others and really showing them how much we love and appreciate life. And I think that's what a lot of Christians need to work on, especially me. I think everybody needs to work on loving each other a little more.
Exactly.
And I feel like we can connect on over that.
Absolutely. 100%. Bryce, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to speak with me. But in closing, what small tips, advice, what could you give to someone who, as we're speaking to, wants to leave the world in a better place than they entered into it? What are little things you can do to uplift the people around you?
Go to a coffee shop, even if you don't like coffee. Local businesses are having a really rough time right now. And you can just go there and ask for a cup of coffee and ask to be educated about coffee. Even if you don't like coffee, you could just get tea or hot chocolate and just smile, and you'll recognize their passion and they'll appreciate the fact that you asked for a cup of coffee because they're all for that.
That's very sweet. And of course, small businesses right now really, really needing it. Awesome.
Yeah. Cool. That's about it.
I want to thank you, Bryce. Thank you for sharing your words and your story and being so open and honest.
For sure. Thanks for letting me talk.
Of course, always. Well, we'll definitely be in touch, and I'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Brad.
Cheers. Ciao.
Bye.
Hey Brad, my name is Sarah and I'm calling from Southington, Connecticut. How I manage my fears is that sometimes I try to remember that the worry and anxiety leading up to a bad moment is way worse than the moment itself. I have a really bad phobia, and when it's particularly bad, I like to think about how quickly I was able to get over the worry and anxiety, and ultimately I was okay. Really, it was just the buildup that I was scared of.
Hi, Brad.
Hi, Ari. Sorry for the delay there.
Friend. It's all right, bro. It's cool. It's cool.
Awesome. Because I was looking through my notes, and our last interview was in May, which is so crazy. It was so long ago.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. It's 6 months ago. It's half a year ago. So much has happened.
A lot has happened. It feels like, it's probably just because I've gotten to know you better, but it feels like you're a totally different person.
Yeah, no, but a lot of stuff changed over the course of this summer. Hanging out with my friends from school that I met in Japan really changed me because, yeah, they're just so amazing. Their energy and like people on the server as well. It's just the connection with new people just gave me this new drive, and like it's really doing good.
Oh,
it is.
That's so great to hear. Growth and development.
Exactly. Like there's been so much growth, especially like when you're at home all the time. You reflect on yourself so much. Like the first few months was like me reflecting on old things I used to do and trying to stop doing that. Yeah, it happened. Like there's a lot of change. It's very good.
It sounds like good change. It sounds like you're a lot happier.
Yeah. I am.
Cool. I think, first of all, for people that don't know, where are you calling from?
Hi, my name is Ari. I'm calling from the Netherlands. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can definitely roll right into a pitch, the elevator pitch of choice, if you so desire. Who you are, what you do, and what got you to where you are today, Ari.
Yes. My name is Aryan. I'm 22 years old and I'm a photographer in the Netherlands. People always call me Ari because it's a lot easier, it's a lot shorter, and it just sounds nice. I've been doing photography since like 2016, 2017, doing a lot of fashion stuff. But a lot of stuff has changed in the course of quarantine, and I've been working towards more storytelling and actually trying to get communities into my work and see how I can help people and give back to a lot of people. So yeah, just a lot of art, love for fashion, music, books, video games. It's the whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, as I've gotten to know you, you're so informed by art. You're always talking to us on calls and stuff about new pieces you're interested in, artists who are inspiring you in one way or another. Do you find yourself more passionate about consuming or making art, or are they kind of both the same thing?
You have to find your balance, and sometimes it's kind of hard. Sometimes you like consume a lot of art, and sometimes you make a lot of art. But finding that perfect balance takes a lot of time, and I'm still looking for it. But throughout the years, I've been finding it, because when I started, I used to do a lot of Instagram photography, so sneaker shots and like fashion stuff. And the more I got into that world, I realized that I was like doing the same thing as everybody else was doing.
Yeah.
And I realized that I had to branch out. So I just like started consuming a lot of art to broaden my spectrum within that world. So not just photography, but also like filmography, cinematography, illustrations, graphic design. And you see that in my work, especially like when you look at the architectural work I do, the lines are so straight, and like you see a lot of forms in my architectural work. And that's just my interest within graphic design, especially like the Bauhaus movement. That one inspired me a lot to do stuff like this. So the beginning was a lot of consuming, and now it's both. It's just two roads that just do their work.
Totally. Yeah. Informing each other.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And what's it like when you can take all that, the art you've experienced, the art you're making, and you can connect with someone who understands the things that you value in it? What's that experience like?
It's crazy. Honestly, at the beginning when I started art school, I didn't fit in with nobody at all, because I felt like I was the biggest outsider ever, coming from IT school.
Right.
Which is like super different, and going to art school and starting as one of the shyest kids of the school to somebody who's like super appreciated by a lot of students, because I can like tap into like a lot of people's way of thinking, and they can tap into mine, and it just works beautifully, because we can help each other like create much better art.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful. It's just it's therapeutic.
Therapeutic. That's an interesting way to put it. Yeah. Because I'm assuming there's a level of emotional attachment in art. And yeah, I guess sharing with someone else, that probably opens up some stuff.
100%. I think that, especially now with my current project that is about my family and how they left their own country to create a family here and give me and my sisters a better future, it's very intense to talk to people about it, because I know this story and I know like the hardships I went through. So it's like sometimes it's very hard to open up, but I've started to realize that this is such a great gateway for me to connect to the world in a different way. I feel like I can like inspire a lot of communities, especially like immigrants. Like I can inspire them. They can like see my work and think like, my parents have gone through the same, and I feel like I could do what he's doing. I'm not saying that everybody should be an artist. It could be like your own kind of work. Like you could be an amazing doctor, or like a scientist, or like a mechanical engineer, or like anything, basically. Just giving them that kind of boost. It's just nice.
Totally. The support, always needed and always appreciated.
Exactly.
Awesome. How do you experiment and keep things fresh and new in your work? Where do you find the space for that?
Experimenting is so important. I do it all the time, even if it's like the smallest things ever. Taking a picture with your phone, writing something down. Writing something down is such a big experiment. Like people overlook it so quickly, but it's so interesting, because like the way you write certain scenarios could be so important. Like, are you writing it in like a position of like a villain, or like a good person, or like an NPC, or like anything like that? Or are you writing as yourself, or are you looking at yourself as a third person? There's like a lot of ways to look at everything. At the moment, it's just a lot of different cameras, playing around in Photoshop and just like making deep fried images and like how terrible can I make an image look? But then is it actually terrible? Is it actually like something that I could use? Collages, or right now I'm working in Ableton Live because I want to try to make some music for my current project, or I'm making a website as well and I don't know anything about coding, so I'm experimenting with coding, seeing how that goes. So there's like a lot of things you could go for.
And even it sounds like, you're messing around in Photoshop. There's a sense of play that comes with experimentation. Like it has to be a little bit fun to, as you're saying, deep fry these images.
Yeah. Playing around is so important. I mean, growing up as a gamer, coming home after school and running to my PlayStation and turning it on and starting to play Final Fantasy, leaving it on all night because I didn't have a memory card, and waking up the next morning to keep on playing. In a game like that, RPGs are so important because you have so many choices. You can take different builds. I think that that's something that I kind of took with me from like a lot of games because I play a lot of Final Fantasy, or like, for example, now I'm playing Hades like crazy.
Right.
Anytime somebody's asking me what I'm doing, it's like I'm playing Hades. And like you have so many choices, and playing around with it and see what kind of equipment works for you is so important. Sometimes it doesn't work. And you might think, oh man, I wasted my time, but you didn't. Like you realize that doesn't work for you. At least you tried. It's better than like looking at something and thinking like, is that going to work?
Right.
And then like not doing anything with it.
Totally. Yeah. Different builds, different situations, trying out different things. Because there's no, especially in art, there's no one right way. And I feel like, as you're speaking to, in the trend of like kind of early Instagram photography, is successful for a bit, but then I think people sort of found out that, hey, I think there's a bigger space for originality and individual voice than, the same, for example, sneaker shots.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I said to my teacher at the beginning of this school year. We were talking about clients that we had to work with because we have to find our own clients to work with the project. And he was like, maybe you should try working with Vice or Dazed, 032C. They're all big magazines. And I was like, I kind of don't want to do that. I'm trying to like grow out of that world. Like I love that world. I still work in that world. I still want to work in that world, but I want to be known for something else than just those pretty shots I took of those pretty people. I want people to know that life is just not, that one Instagram page. It's a lot. It's a lot more.
Totally.
And that's very important.
And if I've learned anything about you, Ari, I think you're well on your way to achieving that goal. So I'm excited to where it leads you.
I'm very excited as well. And I'm ready for whatever is going to hit me. Honestly, like I could be worrying so much about a lot of stuff, but it's what everybody honestly says. It's just a process. Just let it flow. Just let it come at you. I've realized that I've become so much more patient with a lot of stuff, with the people around me, with art, anything, because there's no need to rush. Like I'm 22. There is so much time ahead of me. I will find my lane. Like I found my lane, but it's like I'm gonna run so hard for whatever I'm gonna do. And I'm ready for that.
That's awesome.
Yes, sir.
All right. In closing, again, thank you for making time out of your evening. Is it evening there now? Yeah.
It's almost 12 a.m.
Perfect.
Yeah.
In closing, this week's prompt was about fear. How do you manage and move beyond things that hold you back, either, artistically or maybe bigger life things? What do you do with that fear?
I still overthink a lot of situations. Most of the time, it's just go for it. I've had this conversation with my teacher last week. I was talking about how I want to keep on moving within art, and he was talking about how he did this residency in Tokyo and how he got his PhD. And all he said was, it's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. And he still did it. Like he sent in his PhD and he went to Japan as well. And he got his PhD and he's doing great things. And the one thing that he just kept screaming that day is just do it. Just do it. And sometimes it's hard, especially in places you're uncomfortable in. But taking that first step is so important, because when you do that, when you take that first step, the rest is just going to follow, you know. And start small. Honestly, if you're really scared of like the bigger things, start small. You know, if you're like scared to speak to someone in real life, start on a voice call. You don't see that person, you don't feel their energy, you don't see that face like when you're talking to them. It's just you talking to your microphone. Like, you know, it couldn't be more comfortable. The first few times might be like, but I remember the first time when I talked to you, I was standing at my desk because I didn't want my chair to make noise.
Oh no.
I didn't want my audio file to sound bad. And like, I was so nervous the first time around. And I'm glad I got back into like the Discord world, because I've been out of it for a long while. And I realized that this is where I found my first people, and this is where I found my people again now, but like in a different timeline. You know what I'm saying? Like,
totally. The next evolution.
Exactly. Just start small. It's whatever. Like, send a note, write a note, and like put it on somebody's desk. Or, yeah.
Totally. That's really beautiful, man. Thank you.
Hell yeah, for sure, man. Anytime. I'm glad you asked me.
Of course. Well, thank you again, Ari. Thank you for your time and your words.
Always. No problem, bro.
Of course. And I will
appreciate you.
Definitely be talking to you later. So.
Yes, sir.
Of course. Take care. I'll talk to you later. Ciao.
You too, bro. Bye.
Special thanks to Mia, Bryce, and Ari for making this episode possible. I've tagged their accounts for you to check out on this week's post at Blond Radio on Instagram. Intro music provided by Wayfie, that's Wayfie, and accompanying tracks by Lowboil, that's Loboil, who can both be found on all major streaming platforms. I'll see you soon, and thanks for tuning in to Blond Radio.